Hi, welcome to Drawing and Judging. In this podcast, I draw random portrait studies and I read Reddit stories. You might notice me struggle with this study, but you know what? With all the AI drama in the art community, I'm actually feeling less embarrassed about it than I normally would. Making mistakes is human, and being human is not embarrassing. And doing hard things is a flex. But enough about that. Today's topic is damage of property. Do you have to pay for the things you've broken? Can you demand reimbursement if something of yours was broken? It's gonna be spicy. So grab some tea or coffee, maybe a drawing tablet if you draw, and let's get into it. Am I the asshole for not paying for my roommate's $200 pen I accidentally ruined? He makes over $100K a year, and I make less than a quarter of that. This comes from a user named Throwaway Rich Pen. He really wanted to emphasize his roommate was rich. Like the title says, my roommate makes more than $100K, which is an absolutely unfathomable amount of money to me. He's only living in this cheap apartment with 3 other roommates to save money to buy a house, which is also an asshole move in my opinion. But that's not the point of this post. What is an asshole move? Buying a house? Living with roommates? Saving money? Anyway, a couple days ago, I was using a pen of his. Yesterday, a rich roommate confronted me and the other roommates that someone had warped the bottom of his pen. He asked who most recently used it, me, and if I had soaked it in cold water while it was still hot. I didn't know this would ruin a pot, so I fessed up and offered to replace the pen. Well, it turns out it was a $200 pen. I had no idea they could even cost that much. There is just no way I can afford that. After rent and food, I have about $50 left over each month. Rich roommate, quote-unquote graciously, offered to let me pay in 4 payments of $50 each. But I think it's totally ridiculous to use all of my leftover money for almost half a year to pay for something that my roommate could easily afford to replace himself, for something that shouldn't even cost that much anyway. Am I the asshole for not paying? Okay. The rule of thumb is, you break something, you pay for it. How much he makes is, first of all, none of your business, and second of all, irrelevant. It's not the reason to suddenly change the etiquette. Yes, $200 is a lot of money, but it's not crazy for a pen. I mean, it's surprisingly hard to find a decent pen on a budget. I had to buy one last year and I was so stressed out because even the ones on the pricey side had terrible reviews, like it got ruined after the first use, that kind of terrible. And if I wasn't tight on money, I would have probably picked one of the most expensive ones, just to be sure. So, it's a lot, but it doesn't necessarily strike me as some kind of frivolous luxury. Now, he probably bought this pen before he was on a tight budget. And the reason he is on a tight budget now is his personal business. It's not for you to decide if it's a valid reason. And hey, I'm not a stranger to the whole eat the rich mentality, trust me. I know it sucks that you have to be penniless for 4 months because of one oopsie, while he could just go and get a new one. It's frustrating and it's not fair, but resentment is an emotion, not an argument. And this approach is not fair either. Can we just smash things left and right, as long as their owners make more than us? Come on. Another question I wanna ask is, did you even have a permission to use it? If you didn't, you're a double asshole. From the way it's written, I'd assume you did, because the roommate was asking who used the pen last. If no one had the permission to use it, he'd probably ask who used it. So, I'll give you this. The roommate should have probably warned you about the price and explained how to use this pen, because when you let other people use your things, especially expensive ones, you kinda open yourself to a lot of unfortunate possibilities. People are dumb and clumsy, and you should prepare for that. Now, if I were you, I guess I would have paid, but not in 4 installments. I'd make the payments even smaller. Because being penniless for 4 months is not an option and it's just not safe. But I imagine I'd be so embarrassed and so eager to show them that I'm willing to rectify the damage and not shaking off the responsibility. Which is exactly what you did. No responsibility whatsoever. So, you're the asshole. Reddit's verdict is also asshole, by the way, in case you didn't guess it. The comments also seem unanimous. Someone says, "You're the asshole. If you ruin something, you pay for it. It doesn't matter how rich/poor the person is. He's also not the asshole to live below his means to buy a house. You're just jealous. Also, I love how you put graciously between quotes, like it isn't true. It is. He is being very kind to let you pay in installments. Check your entitled attitude, and don't ruin what you can't afford." Well, he was medium kind. I'm not saying he did anything wrong, but I can't help but feel bad for OP. I'm going through a lot of financial anxiety right now. People are also wondering what he meant by "also an asshole move." I'll quote again, "He's only living in this cheap apartment with 3 other roommates to save money to buy a house, which is also an asshole move in my opinion." People are sort of clowning him for that. Apparently, only assholes save money to buy houses. Apparently, only assholes live as cheaply as possible so they can afford a house quicker. Sounds like quite some nerve. I hope to be that kind of asshole someday. And more asshole comments. You are the asshole. Number 1. Him living cheaply to save money doesn't make him a bad person. I'm not sure why you think it does. Number 2. Unfortunately, you are responsible for replacing what he ruined. How much you make vis-a-vis him is irrelevant. You're the asshole, it was his pen, you ruined it, you get to pay for it, he was kind enough to offer to let you do it in installments. You're the asshole, it's not your roommate's fault that you don't make a lot of money, it is your fault that you ruined his pen. So most of the comments are variations of that. But there's also an interesting suggestion. You're the asshole, you did ruin his pen, and just because he makes more than you is not justification to get out of replacing it. Perhaps there are other ways to repay the roommate. Could you offer to do extra chores or errands or something to compensate for the price of replacement of the pen? Have a discussion with the roommate, explaining that the $50 a month is too much, and see if you can come to some common ground. Is there some other way I could repay you? No, but seriously, it's a good suggestion. Actually, I'm wondering if someone was on OP's side. I'm trying to find some comments defending him. Here's an "everyone sucks." This seems to be a less popular opinion, but I think everyone sucks here. Yes, your attitude sucks, and ultimately you're responsible for your own mistakes. But if I was the rich roommate and had expensive cookware available for all of my roommates to use, I would make sure to tell them how to use it properly. If I didn't say, "Hey, this is really expensive and be sure to take care of it," I would feel at least partly responsible for the miscommunication and try to maybe pitch in with you, or possibly accept a cheaper replacement. Well, we don't know, maybe he did explain that. And even if he didn't, I wouldn't go as far as to say that makes him the asshole. But okay. You're the asshole, 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 you're 100% asshole. Oh, here's a different one. Surprising answer to all this stuff. Not the asshole for literally not being able to pay them back. Sure, you need to repay them in some way, but demanding the full amount is definitely an asshole move when they know you aren't as fortunate as them. If this isn't a first-time offense, then that changes things. Obviously, if you've got a backlog of payments you gotta make back, then you're more liable. However, if this is literally the first time they've demanded to make you repay them, and you've made it clear you really can't, then they're the asshole for trying to force it back. They make $100K a year, they're not losing anything, lol. If they're insistent, you can lower even further to 20 $10 payments. This would both give them their money back and let you have enough to live comfortably. That's exactly what I would do. However, I think I've already explained why I disagree with the first part of this comment, but it's always interesting to see different opinions. No, I've lied. Not always. Next story. Am I the asshole for asking my girlfriend to pay for the wine glass she broke? A few days ago, my girlfriend Trish, not her real name, was cleaning the kitchen windows. In the midst of her cleaning, she accidentally knocked over a dish from the drying rack, and the dish landed on and shattered an expensive wine glass of mine. I say mine because it was given to me by my mother as a Christmas gift last year. The glass retails for around $120. When she told me she had broken the glass by accident, which she was very nervous about because she knew the glass was expensive, we had a discussion, may classify this as an argument, that lasted 3 days, about how it would get replaced and who would pay. After all this talking, she says, gave in, and gave me 40% of the cost to replace the glass. I had initially asked that she replace the glass in full, but after discussion I realized that if we are partners, it would be logical to use the 60-40 calculation we use for everything else. Background. Trish and I have been living together for about a year. When we initially decided to move in together, we decided to split all expenses 60-40% because of our combined income distribution. I make 60% of our gross monthly earnings, she makes 40%. After the initial agreement, Trish has now said she doesn't feel good about the agreement and wants me to give the money back to her. Her reasoning is that A, it was a complete accident, and B, she would never want to buy any wine glasses that expensive, ever again. My argument is that if we are to live together, we are going to be sharing costs, and inevitably things are going to break and need replacing, repairing. I liked this wine glass, again, which was a gift from my mother, and would like to replace it so that we have a matching set once more. More background. I know for a fact that Trish is financially able to reimburse me the 40% and will suffer no undue hardship from the loss of those funds. On the other hand, I am also fully able to replace the glass without it affecting my financial stability. Am I the asshole for asking Trish to reimburse 40% of the wine glass she broke by accident? There's an edit with an update, but first let's discuss. This is tricky. The question I'm asking myself right now is, does the basic rule of you break, you pay apply to a romantic relationship? I think it should apply to most relationships, even close ones, even within families. Like, if I spilled a drink over my sister's laptop, there's no way in hell I wouldn't have to pay for it because we're family or whatever. Is it somehow different in a romantic relationship? I'll be honest, I don't like what he did there. It feels tacky. Let's try to figure out why. Is it because there is this implication of what's mine is yours in a serious relationship? Well, you can have different arrangements as a couple. You can have separate finances, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, must be something else. It's not about gender roles either. I feel like it would have been just as tacky if the roles were reversed. It reminds me of Erich Fromm, who had a lot to say about love in the capitalistic society. According to him, we have this marketplace mentality that we bring into every relationship. We're supposed to approach our relationships with genuine care. You love this person, so you want what's best for them. That doesn't mean you should neglect your own needs, but you also shouldn't be entirely self-centered. And that is exactly what happens when you approach relationships as a consumer, focusing on how much you can get from this relationship and obsessively keeping tabs and worried about somehow being shortchanged, like you're literally in the market. And I'm not sure if this what can I get out of this approach is capitalistic or just human, but it does sound familiar, right, with all of the modern dating complaints that we keep hearing. And it feels like in this relationship, in this story, there's a lot of keeping tabs and not a lot of caring. Both of them approach this with the goal of not losing or minimizing their losses. This is their focus, as opposed to their partner's feelings. And it's not really about money, as both of them have enough, if OP is telling the truth. So I guess both of them are assholes. Let's start with OP's behavior. In theory, I can imagine situations where asking for compensation would be completely fair. Like, let's say they've broken your laptop. And without it, you can't work, you can't function, you can't earn money for a new laptop. So it's a dire situation and you need it resolved ASAP. But let's be clear, a $120 glass is not a necessity. It's not urgent, and it's not critical to your daily life. So if you had a disagreement, it's not like you even had to decide anything immediately. You could just shelve the problem and get back to it around holidays or something. There's literally no need to argue, let alone for 3 days. Now, let's not forget that the girlfriend broke the glass while, washing the windows? Right, cleaning the kitchen windows. So she was taking care of your common space. Question: did you pay her for cleaning the windows? Does she get to charge you since you're charging her for the glass? You see what I mean? There's a lot of unpaid work in a relationship. And your lives are very much intertwined. So if you're gonna charge each other for every action, it's gonna descend into craziness. Now, let's roast the girlfriend. I'm trying to put myself in her shoes, and here's what I don't understand. Having broken something of your partner's, don't you want to make it up to them? Like, yes, I think it's weird that he demanded money from her, but I also think it's weird that she wasn't like, I'm so sorry, let me buy you a new one. Although, by making it up to him, I don't necessarily mean buying a replacement or giving him the money. She could start with a genuine apology or make it up with some extra care, I don't know. But the glass had emotional value, being a gift from his mom, so maybe the way to deal with it could also be emotional. Here's what I'm trying to say. If I were her, I guess I'd ask, what can I do to make it better? And if he said, buy me a new one, I wouldn't have a problem with that. That is, if I had money. And all of that marketplace mentality aside, 60-40 does sound like a fair compromise in this situation. At least OP tried to find some middle ground there, and I think she should have accepted it. She doesn't have valid arguments for backing out. It was a complete accident. And people break other people's stuff by accident all the time, and normally they pay regardless. And I understand not being comfortable around expensive stuff, especially after this accident, but you can't forbid your partner from having nice stuff for the rest of their life, potentially. That said, maybe you shouldn't have expensive glasses if breaking them causes such a drama, because guess what? Glasses break. And you need to be prepared for this possibility, and not spiral your whole relationship because of it. But I also understand the itch of having lost something and needing to replace it. So the verdict is everyone sucks. This is Reddit's verdict and mine as well. The situation was easily resolvable, but both of them made it a matter of principle. Now let's read the update. Edit. It appears that according to popular sentiment, I am the asshole. I have therefore given Trish back her money. Thank you to the commenters that have gentle and thoughtful wisdom on what they believed might be more of the root cause of this argument. I don't think we've been in a good place for a long time, and asking her for money was never about control. I wanted to see her take personal responsibility, because that is what I would have done. For your information, Trish was with me and signed off on this post before I submitted it. She has read all of the comments. After doing so, we now understand that she does not wish to have such nice things, and is worried about being too materialistic, as well as a prisoner in her own home, having to walk on eggshells in the fear she might break something else. She is also sad that I was not able to show compassion and let it slide. I do struggle with showing empathy and compassion sometimes. And I also agree with the people who have commented on the argument spanning 3 days. It's exhausting for both of us. Life is too short. We have little fights like this all the time, and it's wearing on both of us. It might be time to call it quits. Yeah, I don't think this relationship is beyond repair, but no one seems to want to repair it. So, yeah, time to go your separate ways. Top comment says, Info. Why was a $120 presumably delicate wine glass sitting in or next to a drying rack with regular dishes in the first place? If I had glassware that pricey, it would be washed, dried, and put away after use. I think this is a secondary matter. Had the glass been stored properly, it would have been something else, sooner or later. But one of the responses to this comment really nails it, in my opinion. My spouse is a little clumsy and breaks things sometimes. You know what I did when he broke one of my favorite fancy champagne glasses? I told him I was sad and asked him to be more careful. I also told him that I would be more careful about where I put things, because I know it was a genuine accident, and it's not like you can help being clumsy. And another great one. Yep, and given he's being so precious about this thing that should have been put away somewhere if it's so expensive, she's very right to say that they shouldn't own very expensive wine glasses, if this is going to be his reaction. They can buy cheap wine glasses from AITA, and he can keep his special glasses locked high away. The situation probably should have gone, the girlfriend apologizes and offers to replace it. And he says that's not necessary because it was an accident, and the glass shouldn't have been on the bench. At least that's what I would do, but I guess OP and his girlfriend are very different to me. Someone puts me to shame by saying I don't understand OP's transactional view of his relationship. And I'm like, transactional. So much of what I've said could be replaced with this one word, if only I remembered it. Another commenter says, You're the asshole. Nickel and diming each other like this doesn't make for a successful relationship. This was an accident. If she had done this on purpose, I could see asking for reimbursement. But this is how you treat a roommate, not a girlfriend. And someone replies, This doesn't sound like a relationship at all. I'm glad we all agree. I was almost done with the comments, but I've just found an alternative opinion. I'm so confused by the asshole votes. Accident or not, your girlfriend broke something that belonged to you. I think it was generous you offered to split the cost with her, not the asshole. Someone responds to that. Because they live together, it was an accident, and it will happen again. Dishes get broken. Stuff gets strained. This is why my expensive glassware is put away for special occasions. We use our cheap stuff regularly. You live and learn. You don't fight with your partner and charge them for it. Not if you want a healthy, happy relationship. It's okay to be annoyed, but I'd never tell my live-in partner, you owe me money for breaking the glass you accidentally broke while cleaning our apartment. Well said, nothing to add here. Am I the asshole for demanding my friend pays for the chair she broke? I have this friend who is pretty big, like 350 pounds, or maybe a bit more, while everyone else in our circle is more on the slim side. I love her very much and want her to feel at home at my place, so I made sure that my new chairs at the dining table are safe for her to use. But then, she didn't really find them comfortable. No armrests that would be tight to fit in, or curved seats to press into her legs or anything. It was just that they weren't upholstered enough for her liking, or something. So then she saw the nice comfy lounge chair in my living room, and dragged it over to the table because she wanted to use it instead. I told her it might not be as sturdy as the chairs, but she still wanted to use it. It's a designer chair, one of those cup-formed ones, with thin brass legs, beautiful but not very stable. Got it at a designer outlet for $250 a few weeks ago. She sat down in it, all good. Then she raised one of her legs to put it on the rim of the chair and against the table. Okay. Then she decided to fold her other leg below her onto the chair and shifted her weight back and to the left to do this, tilting the chair slightly back while holding onto the table to do this acrobatics. The chair creaked and then a leg bent and broke and she crashed to the floor with it. My friend hurt her elbow and everyone was all over her and making her feel good that night, including me. We got her an ice pack and everything, and no blame. She was clearly shocked and shaken, so it wasn't the time to talk about the chair. She blamed the chair for not being sturdy right away though, and said many times how it sucks to be treated like this by the world. I didn't say much in that moment, but the next day I called her to ask about paying for the chair. See, it cost much, and I didn't offer it to her, and she broke it. She's extremely angry now, and our group of friends is split. Some say that I'm wrong, because her weight isn't her fault, and she should be able to do what she likes regardless. Otherwise, it's discrimination. And also, I should have told her absolutely not to sit on the chair, if I wasn't sure it would support her. Some are on my side and say she shouldn't have dragged a chair over that wasn't intended to be used at the table, and if she did, she should have just kept her feet on the floor, as that clearly worked better, and that she knows her weight and associated issues best. I agree with the latter, and also want full price from her. I won't be able to replace the chair with the same model. The regular price is just too high, and none are left at the outlet. But it was just a few weeks old, so I think I deserve the full price to get something else instead. Also, I'm just 120 pounds, and I love her, but why would I have to buy only chairs that can support thrice my own weight? That's not how it works in my head. Am I the asshole for asking for $250? Oh, it's not dollars, it's euros. No, it was dollars the first time it was mentioned, so one of these is wrong. Am I the asshole for asking for €250 for the damaged chair? It can't be repaired either. Okay, first of all, some of your friends are crazy. Her weight isn't her fault, and she should be able to do what she likes regardless. Otherwise, it's discrimination. That's a crazy thing to say. This would be valid if we were talking her clothes. Like, she has the right to wear a tank top, even if someone finds that unattractive, that kind of thing. Now let's say we are talking about amusement rides. Should she be able to get in, even if she gets injured or worse? And I know the furniture thing is less extreme, but it's still a matter of safety and respect for someone else's property. By ignoring the objective reality, you risk hurting yourself and others. Moving on to yet another stupid argument made by the friends. I should have told her absolutely not to sit on the chair if I wasn't sure it would support her. OP did warn her, she just did it in a mild manner. She didn't yell or try to tackle her friend, but what she did should have been enough. So why would the responsibility be on her, instead of the person who ignored her concerns and chose to search for something else to sit on? By the way, as a guest, you probably shouldn't rummage through the house in search of better furniture. And if you do, at least listen to the host when you get any kind of pushback. Now, I don't want to invalidate the friend's feelings. I can perfectly relate to the feeling of not being treated fairly by the world. But here's the thing, viewing yourself as a victim has serious downsides. Among other things, you get so engrossed in your suffering that you forget to be fair yourself and start being an asshole towards other people. I know that because I get like that, and I hate being this person. It also sounds like part of this friend group is babying her and sort of feels responsible for her emotional state, which is not the healthiest dynamics. And yes, in this case, they were absolutely right to comfort her. And OP was absolutely right to not bring up the payment immediately. But being compassionate is not the same as letting people off the hook for their choices. Yes, her weight is probably not her fault, but no one made her sit on the chair. On the contrary, she was warned against it. So this was entirely her choice, and choices have consequences. I don't think OP did anything wrong here at all. Not the asshole. And this was also Reddit's judgment. I sort of like arguing against the official verdicts, but today is not the day apparently. Top comment says, not the asshole. Who drags a decorative chair to the dining table when there are already enough chairs? Who leans back in an expensive decorative chair? My kids get in trouble for leaning back in ordinary chairs at the table. This person has terrible manners, regardless of their weight, and broke your furniture while being rude and careless. Autistic Penguin says, a friend of mine was using my mortar and pestle and managed to break it. A clean break all the way through, about halfway up the bowl. The bowl was over an inch thick and solid stone, so it should have been able to take him jumping on it, without even a concern of breaking. So I can only assume there was a significant flaw in the stone that created a cleavage plane it fractured along. Nobody is actually strong enough to just tear an inch of stone in half using their bare hands. He still offered to replace it. This is clearly the person being over the weight limit of a chair that she was warned may not be stable. She chose to take the risk, but refuses to accept the responsibility. Not the asshole. Someone touches on the weight discrimination thing. Definitely the weight is just being used to muddy the water and distract from the real situation. She used something that wasn't hers without permission and broke it. In literally any other situation, you would be expected to pay for whatever you broke. This case is the exact same, whether or not she is 30 pounds or 300 pounds. Another commenter says, as someone who used to be almost 400 pounds, yes, I hate this. I was overweight from a combination of things, but I had a fear of destroying something or being disrespectful of others' property. What she did was just rude. Someone else took issue with the friends. Some say that I'm wrong because her weight isn't her fault and she should be able to do what she likes regardless, otherwise it's discrimination, and also I should have told her absolutely not to sit on the chair if I wasn't sure it would support her. Which is them basically saying OP should have told her she is too heavy to sit in the chair, thus making her the asshole anyway. This was a no-win situation for OP, and her friend was always going to be the victim. Whether that was the intention or not, I don't know, but who drags a chair from one room to another when there are plenty of chairs available already? OP tried to be polite, and the friend didn't listen. She didn't listen to the homeowner's request. She can pay for the damages. Agreed. There's also some fat shaming here. I'm not gonna read that. Okay, that's enough for the story. Well, this is it for the episode. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.